You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
So big California retailers now, by law, must offer gender-neutral children's aisles under the new law. Toy stores, you gotta have a gender-neutral section. It's what we're doing. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I'm a big fan of this, and I'll tell you why. I've been a single dad. I was a single dad when my kids were majority of their growing up past the age of like 10 or something like that, right? So, and younger than that. So we had all these birthday parties and stuff. And as a single dad, you still got to get a present for your kid. You got to go to for your kid to give to the other kid. Sometimes it's for a girl. Sometimes it's for a boy. You don't know, or you've got family members, kids who you got to buy stuff for. And as a guy, as a business guy, as a real estate guy, I'm not very good. I buy stuff that I want to get, right? For other little kids. So I buy stuff that I want to get. It's not about me. And I know that, but that's just what I do. So I'm great. If you're like an 8-year-old boy, I am your man. I can get you stuff all day long. That's cool. You will love it. If you're a girl, not so much. I don't know what to get. Now, with this new law, I can go into a toy store in California, pick one out of the gender neutral section. I'm good to go. That's what we're talking about today here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. I can't believe this is actually a thing. Have you seen California Skid Row in LA? It's like 50 blocks of just District 9. It's insane. And yet legislation we've got going on is you got to have a gender neutral section in your toy store. All right. That's what we're going to get into today. Before we do, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies. That's the background I bring. I am also a dad and a bunch of other things, but I talk mainly from a business background or whatever it is you want to. News for reasonable people. That's kind of what we keep leaning towards. All right, so let's get into this one. Governor Gavin Newsom on Saturday signed a law that requires large California retailers to maintain gender-neutral toy and childcare sections. Apparently, this is a thing. I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know that walking into the toy section and seeing just boy toys and not boy toys, that sounded terrible, didn't it? Toys for boys. That doesn't sound good either. Toys for the female population over here. That sounded better. And now, so we've got those two sections, and now we've got this middle section where it's neutral stuff. All right. I'm having a hard time understanding just the general mechanics of this. This makes zero sense to me, but I guess a lot of stuff isn't really for me to judge-ish, but I'm going to do a podcast on it. So the new law, Assembly Bill 1084, requires that retailers with 500 or more employees in the state of California maintain a gender-neutral section or area to be labeled at the discretion of the retailer, in which a reasonable selection of the items and toys for children that it sells shall be displayed regardless of whether they have been traditionally marketed for either girls or for boys. So you got to have a section. Just, all right, here's your toys. Take them or leave them. Is anybody going to go to that section? I don't think, because you're going to be like, well, those are kind of more mediocre. They don't really have a defined theme. Let's see what's in the boys section. Okay, yeah, that's too harsh. What's in the girls got nothing. All right, I guess we'll buy it from the boys section. Don't you see that kind of happening? I don't know. I'm just trying to envision how this goes. I'm trying to envision what these toys look like. I've spent a lot of time in the toy section of stores. I like to go with remote control mini monster trucks. You can't go wrong with that. Go into Walmart, go into Target, go into Fred Meyer here in the Pacific Northwest, get yourself a $50 remote control 4x4 monster truck that comes in that enormously, hideously non-recyclable plastic containers. You know what I'm talking about? With just a lot of styrofoam. They may or may not have batteries in them. Make sure you get the batteries. I mean, I am happy when I walk out of the store with like 4 of those, knowing that when those kids rip open that packaging, they're going to be pumped to get like an Incredible Hulk 4x4 remote control car. I mean, who doesn't want that? And even the girls in my family, the little girls, they're like, you can tell that they're like, I want that. And I feel bad for that part of it because the boys seem to get the cooler toys, right? They just do. I think they just do. And since I only had boys, I can really only identify there. I think toys for girls are far harder. Maybe because I didn't have girls, I'm not really sure. Or I go into the girls section of the toy store and I'm just immediately overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what is trending, but a monster 4x4 truck with the Incredible Hulk on it, I'm making that part up. I mean, who can't get into that? The bigger, the better. If it breaks after day one, you know what? All is good. It's Christmas. I mean, this is America. We're a consumer society. We just have crap we don't need, and so do our kids. It's what we're doing. So Assemblyman Evan Lowe, Democrat from Campbell, and Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia, Democrat from Bell Gardens, introduced the bill. All right. Lowe, in an interview with the Sacramento Bee earlier this year, said he was inspired to introduce the bill after he learned of Target's 2015 decision to abolish gendered children's sections. The bill was sponsored by gender-free fashion brand The Fluid Project, and Fluid is spelled P-H-L-U-I-D, Fluid. That's a weird word, but it's a good word because now you'll remember it. Fluid, and he spelled it weird, P-H. As much as I'd like to think of this as a watershed legislation, this is something the industry is already doing. We're just trying to play catch up, Lowe said earlier this year. And since it's California doing it, Oregon and Washington, what are you, about 2 years behind? They're doing it down there. We need to follow suit here because everything they do in Cali is really good. Let's just do that. So the Consumer Federation of California also supported Lowe's proposal. Of course they did. This bill will allow consumers to easily identify similar children's items, which will be displayed closer to one another in one undivided area of the retail sales floor. Do we really need that? I mean, the toys, they are what they are when they're out the door. Do you need a comparison shop like that? I mean, I don't think so. But then again, if I have a section that's clearly identified as gender neutral, and I've got questions on what some kid might want, I don't know. This might be a godsend. I'm not really sure. I'm just going to have to, the jury's out on this one. Keeping similar items that are traditionally marked either for girls or for boys separated makes it more difficult for the consumer to compare the products and incorrectly implies that their use by one gender is inappropriate. You know, when you pick up like a package or a toy and you're thinking this is the best thing ever for this kid. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Is this for a boy or is this for a girl? I don't really know. And then you have that flash of, if I get the wrong thing, this kid's just going to get laughed at. That part would suck. And then it would mean that I'm not a good adult because I bought, some wrong present, but it looked cool, to me as an adult. Picking out gifts is hard, isn't it? Unless it's just really expensive jewelry and, some people just don't seem to mind that, right? So separating products by gender also helps to disguise the unfortunate fact that female products are often priced higher than male products. I've often heard that, like the same damn thing packaged to women or to female gender is higher. That sucks. That's not right. But that's not what we're really doing here, right? One of the most vocal opponents of the law was the conservative California Family Council, which said the bill was a marketing scheme by Rob Smith, the proprietor of the Fluid Project. And it's a marketing project because it's to sell his gender-neutral clothing line. What does that look like? Is this for a woman? Size XXL? Is this for a woman? I'm not sure. I'm going to take it. I don't know. Gender neutral clothing. All right. You have to give Rob Smith credit. He's found quite an audacious marketing plan in asking Sacramento to force California retailers to make room for his products. California Family Council President Jonathan Keller said in a statement, but activists and state legislators have no right to force retailers to espouse government-approved messages about gender. It's a violation of free speech, and it's just plain wrong. I still go back to California. You've got Skid Row in LA, and this is what you're focusing on, is this stuff. You got people literally like dying daily there. And this is what we're working on. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it's a different world we live in, doesn't it? Gavin Newsom signs law requiring gender-neutral aisles in toy stores. All right, so from this article, here's what the bill provides. A, we got a three-parter here. A retail department store that offers children items or toys for sale shall maintain a gender-neutral section or area to be labeled at the discretion of the retailer. You can label it however you want, in which a reasonable selection of items, a reasonable selection, we're reasonable people here, this is the reasonable news, a reasonable selection, got to have some that, I don't know, what does that even mean? Well, I had a reasonable selection. So a reasonable selection of items and toys for children that it sells shall be displayed regardless of whether they have been traditionally marketed for either girls or for boys. What about a jump rope? I use a jump rope. It's traditionally marketed towards, I'm going to guess here, girls? I don't know. So many questions, so few answers. This section shall apply only to retail department stores that are physically located in California that have a total of 500 or more employees across all California retail department store locations. This is just for big companies, right? This section shall not apply to retail department stores that are physically located outside Cali. That's good, because this could be a real mess. Beginning on January 1st, 2024, a retail department that failed, okay, so it's a $250 fine for the first violation, $500 fine for additional violations. But then again, it's not really clear what the violation would be. You just got to have a gender neutral section, right? Stores can still maintain boys and girls sections as long as they create one gender neutral area, though. The legislation is unclear whether retailers could be punished for selling the same toys in gendered and gender neutral sections of the store. I am glad I'm not a store manager. Could you imagine getting your toys in and going, all right, we got to have a gender neutral section. Did you guys order any of the gender neutral? All right, so which ones can we put in there that are going to qualify? I mean, we need to be reasonable about this. I mean, it's just, wow. That's all I got to say. Wow. All right, so let's move on to Lego. Lego is going to remove their gender bias from its toys after findings of a child survey. Let's see what's going on with Lego. I was a big fan of Legos only because my younger brother played with Legos nonstop as a kid. So we always had a bunch of Legos. Legos, when you walk on them with your feet on hard surfaces such as vinyl or hardwood, those hurt. Those Legos are just like, ouch. But my younger brother played with Legos a lot. I think to the point where he even glued some of them together, his bigger projects. Lego has announced it will work to remove gender stereotypes from its toys after a global survey the company commissioned found attitudes to play and future careers remain unequal and restrictive. All right. I can't think of a toy that is probably more gender neutral than Legos in general. They're mini building blocks, okay? So you're just making stuff, but then boys basically buy them? I mean, I guess when you've got like a hot rod that you're going to make with your thing, or you've got something else, some crazy cartoon, that's obviously very boy oriented, maybe the argument can be made there, but you're still just creating cool stuff out of mini building blocks, right? But the argument I think is that boys play with those more than girls. So researchers found that while girls were becoming more confident and keen to engage in a wide range of activities, the same was not true of boys. Okay, where was this survey? I need to ask. 71% of the boys surveyed feared that they would be made fun of if they played with what they described as girls' toys, a fear shared by their parents. Parents are more worried about their sons will be teased than their daughters for playing with toys associated with the other gender. That's a problem. Okay. Yep. That's a real thing. But how do you work around that? You have them play with some gender neutral toys. I don't know. Now you're getting into kind of micromanaging toys. But it's also that behaviors associated with men are valued more highly in society. Until societies recognize that behaviors and activities typically associated with women are as valuable or important, parents and children will be tentative to embrace them. The study found that parents still encourage sons to do sports or STEM activities, while daughters were offered dance and dressing up. Girls were 5 times more likely to be encouraged in these activities than boys, or baking, 3 times more likely to be encouraged. I encouraged my boys to kind of do whatever they wanted. I mean, within the, what's reasonable. And maybe even some stuff that wasn't reasonable because I was a single dad. And I'm like, as long as it doesn't kill you. Try everything once, right? I mean, what could possibly go wrong? We had a lot of those that, they didn't end up well. And yeah, those kind of stories. But you live through experience, right? So those insights emphasize just how ingrained gender biases are across the globe, said Gina Davis, the Oscar-winning actress, an activist who set up the Institute in 2004 to combat negative gender stereotyping and foster inclusion. Yeah, with the whole toys thing, though, we encourage girls to play with boys' stuff, but not the other way around. All right. Yeah, I can see that. There was a problem since toys offered training opportunities, she said. So if girls aren't playing with Legos or other construction toys, they aren't developing the spatial skills that will help them in later life. If dolls are being pushed on girls but not boys, then boys are missing out on nurturing skills. I don't know too many boys that wanted to play with dolls. I just didn't. I don't think I knew of any. Maybe G.I. Joe. I had G.I. Joe as a kid. I thought it was damn cool. Dressed him up as just some mercenary. It's G.I. Joe. He's going to go out there and he's just going to do his thing. He's going to take over. He's got his Jeep, G.I. Joe. Not nurturing. That is called, I think, of the hunting and gathering. That would be the hunting aspect of life, right? G.I. Joe. What a cool character. All right. So, we've just got this stuff going on. Legos. What else do we have here? There was something in one of these articles that I read, and it's probably not here, but it was like, all right, and if boys want to play with glitter, they should be able to. And I was kind of like, well, unless you're going to a rave, it's pretty unlikely that your boy is going to be playing with glitter. I don't see that as a big reality, but say it is. Say your kid wants to put on some makeup or whatever, throw on some glitter. They're probably going to get made fun of. And that's just the harsh reality. I mean, it's hardcore, right? I mean, that's brutal. But to have these stores dictate, all right, or have these stores being dictated to, you got to have a gender neutral section. Is this really going to change much? I don't know. I think it almost confuses things more because when you've got the boys section and you got the girls section, at least then you kind of know. Now you've got this confusing third section that's just like, well, anything goes in there. So I don't know. Is this going to change anybody's shopping decisions? Are you literally going to go, okay, we're not going to the girls section. We're not going to the boys. We're going in the gender neutral. I don't know. I find it, I think it's going to confuse things even further because it's like, okay, it's gender neutral. Okay, which one does that mean? Is this appropriate? Should be fine. How does any of this work? That's what I see when I see these stories come out. And it's like, all right, yeah, there's probably something to that. The toys that kids play with, though, here's my thing. Life is harsh. Life is harsh. You're going to get kicked around. If life doesn't kick you around, you're not really living. The toys you play with, somebody's going to make fun of you for playing with something somewhere. Somebody's going to make fun of you for no matter what. You can't hide everybody from everything. So there's going to have to be some risks out there. That's just kind of how life goes. And so trying to make kids just, all right, don't get little Johnny that toy because he might get made fun of. It's difficult, right? It's tricky. And if you've got a kid, if you've got a boy who wants to play with dolls, that's tough because he's going to get ripped on. That's just how it goes. Is that fair? No. And that's, I guess, that's kind of what we're talking about, is making products where kids feel comfortable doing their thing, their passion projects, if there is such a thing for children. Or does it confuse things even further? I don't know. I'm going to stick with my, 4x4 monster trucks. They're pretty cool. I've been thinking about, maybe moving up to the little tiny drones. That'd be fun. But you could, take a drone in the eye. That's not good. And for girls, it's difficult. I've got one female cousin who is probably 12, and I've struggled always. What do I buy her? I don't know. And I often think, you know what? She would probably like the remote control car just as much as the boys, but so I got to reach out to her mom and my cousin's wife and ask, hey, what do I get her? I don't know. Cause I got a feeling that the ones I'm getting all the rest of the boys I have boy cousins for just about everybody else, except one new baby, cousin, female. So I'm pretty good as far as buying for the boys. I'm okay there. And adult boys, you just get them said something ridiculous on a shirt. They're good with that. I think I've talked about this. I did the Danny Duncan. He's an outrageous YouTuber, wildly inappropriate, but he has a clothing line and one of them says virginity rocks. I mean, that's pretty funny. So I gave that to, one of my cousin's kids and to one of my kids, of course. Why wouldn't I give one of those kind of shirts to my kids? And it's kind of one of those things. All right, here's this outrageous YouTuber and here's his product line. And it says something kind of funny on it. It's like, is that making fun of virginity? We're not really sure. No, it says virginity rocks, meaning that's cool. But it's coming from Danny Duncan. What's the deal there? We're not really sure. We're just going to go with it. It's kind of one of those moments. But this whole gender neutral, I don't know. Yeah. It's a wild deal, right? When you see that, you kind of think, I don't really know what to make of that. Because back in the day, way back in my time, in the boys section, girls section, now I'm being told that that's not acceptable in California. You got to have this third section. I don't know. Maybe this just kind of comes and goes and you've just got even more toys for everybody. Could that be a thing? Probably. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird, right? I mean, it's just like, okay, toys. Grandkids. That's what I'm thinking of next is grandkids. How will that go? All right, Grandpa didn't buy from the gender neutral section. Somebody's got to get him on board with this because this isn't going to fly. We can't have any more family gatherings if Grandpa doesn't get the right stuff. I don't know. Will it come down to that? Probably not. Because they'll know that, he bought 4x4 remote control monster trucks for years. That guy. I think that's how it'll go. Because once you get to a certain point, you're old. People just are like, well, he's old. That's why he makes the choices he does. But for kids, frankly, for my kids who are in their 20s, buying kids gifts, that could get complex, right? Which section did you buy it out of? What do you mean? Well, right? Here we are. Okay. I think I've beaten the gender neutral section of the toy store to death. Look for that in California if you're there. That's going to be a thing. Or is it? I don't know. Are they going to say like gender neutral section? Does it say for boys? Does it say for girls? I'm going to have to look. The Toys R Us store that we had here in Bellevue, it got, Toys R Us basically kind of went away, right? So I don't really have a go-to store. I just buy stuff online now. Yeah, tricky. So is that going to be one of the search categories? Maybe. Thanks for being here, part of the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. That's it for this one. We'll catch up soon. Until then, stay safe, make good decisions. We'll talk again. Bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.